is there anything you want to talk about? Is there something that's been, because I have some burning stuff I want to talk about.
Right on. Let's do burning stuff. That sounds good. I mean,
Okay.
there's like all kinds of things I could talk about, but I want to do the burning. Do burning. That
Well,
sounds good.
it's there's two things that are just like kind of
You're lit up over.
I'm a little lit up over. So,
Let's
and
talk about it.
one of them I bet you've had to deal with before. So, have you ever found yourself in the situation where you have a pet and you're trying to nutritionally help them, and yet it's not like going the way that you want, and you're confused because everything you've learned, everything you've taught, everything you've done tells you this should be working, but then the dog in front of you is
A mess.
not, it's a mess. Has that ever happened to you?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
totally. Because of course we get people who are like, I'm getting a puppy in a month, and those people you have no problem with. Like we have, 15, 16 years of awesomeness and
Right.
no problems. Then we have the people who come in and their dogs are already a total disaster, and they've gone through everything under the sun and everything under the moon, and they've done a million antibiotics and a million this and that, and they've tried. I mean, the dogs are a mess coming in, so it takes a lot of work to get them out.
Right.
And and then those are the ones that I have that's going to be a struggle for no matter whoever's trying
Sure,
with
sure,
those.
sure.
It's going to be hard. So I'm like the latch ditch person for a lot of people.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so yeah, I get really complicated ones, and some of them are really challenging. And
I'm so sorry. I have hair in my
yeah,
eye because I always have hair in my eye. So, but keep
the life
talking.
of a groomer.
I'll always have hair.
Yeah.
Always. Like,
I'm
I feel
sure.
like every time I talk to people, I'm like, hold on, let me pull this giant piece of hair out of my eye.
Yeah, so no, I definitely have that happen. I have one right now who's these wonderful members who I adore, and they have a Frenchie. I'm like, well,
Oh my
enough
gosh.
said right there, right? It's like, well, you have a Frenchie.
We almost
We can
had,
almost
okay,
stop. We can almost just stop right there and just
you
like that.
can almost stop, and
Yeah.
you're right. Frenchies, bulldogs, you're going to have issues, but let me tell you just a real quick side note. We thought she was going to abandon these two little, but she didn't. She was just having a bad day. We had somebody, first time client, come and drop off two little Frenchies with us, and she got lost, so she got frustrated, and then the little Frenchie pooped in the little kennel while she was trying to find us. It was the most frustrating
Oh.
thing. And when she came walking in, God bless her, hopefully she's not going to be mad that I'm sharing this story, but because she did come eventually pick up her dogs. But when she dropped him off, she's like, "Does anybody want two Frenchies?"
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah. No, she
she
was
was
just frustrated. Yeah.
frustrated, and so we bathed him up, and then we kept calling her, and
Oh.
she wasn't answering at first. So we thought, "Oh my God, did we really
Yikes.
just
Yeah,
get
was that a real deal?
like, was that
Yeah.
real? Like, we can't get a hold of her," and we kept calling and calling, and then of course everybody at work starts putting bids on them. I want this one. I want that one.
Aw.
So, but she did end up picking them up. But yes, Frenchies can be a huge handful. But what, more specifically, what I'll share with you is I had this dog for years that I was trying to help with these chronic ear infections. And the reason I want to talk about this is because as people come on, or as you're working with nutritionists or your veterinarian or your groomer or your dog trainer or whoever, your own doctor, I think the premise of what I want to talk about is making sure that you give the whole story to the people you're working with. And this is why, because this just happened to me. And I'm so sad that and it's not
No.
always the fault. It's not always the client's intention to hide information from you, but they just don't think about it. So
Well,
I had,
also on us, Carrie, like I've had the experience where I've had members for over 10 years or a long time.
yeah,
And if they're like totally love SFRA and they listen to everything I say, they read all my blogs, they do all that stuff. So I make the assumption it's my fault because I make the assumption that they have absorbed everything that I've communicated, or especially things that I say over and over and over and over and over and over.
right.
But for some reason it didn't register, or they didn't really think about it, or they didn't
Yep.
it got missed somehow. And then
Yeah.
I assumed that they knew, like we were all on the same page with that, and I don't go through and just verify we're not doing flea and tick, we're not doing heartworm, we're not revaccinating,
Yep.
and I've just recently had that experience with some very long-term members where it's like, oh my
How
gosh,
did that get
how did
missed?
I, and that's my fault because
Yeah.
that's not on them at all. It's a completely my miss because
I
I
think
didn't
it's so
bring it
messed up.
up.
Right.
I didn't verify that, and I'm working and we're like, how did this happen? How come this is going on? What's
Yeah.
going, what's happening? And then it's like, oh, well, and then it is realized, and then once it's realized, I'm like, oh my gosh, I mean, there's the problem right there. So
Yeah.
we could just stop all this nonsense, and we need to just go back to that was the cause, and
Yeah.
let's try and do
Go
the
from there.
repair.
But
Yeah, yeah.
that's kind of what I want to talk about is like all of things. I did a video one time on gut destroyers, like everything, because I wanted people to know like I can help you, but if I can't just help you with diet if we're doing all of this other stuff, right? And so I just want to share this one particular thing because it was something that I hadn't thought to bring up as if something that would
So
destroy
it
what.
was a huge lesson for me. It was like, okay, I need to not make any assumptions,
No,
and
no.
it was just so my fault, and I take full responsibility for
Sure.
not asking those
Sure.
questions and just to
But that
verify.
list
Yeah.
can just keep. I agree with you, like we're the ones that are taking responsibility, and it is a lesson for me, and it's one more thing that I'm going to add to the list, and I'll
Yeah.
tell you the story because you might want to add this to your list
Thank
because
you.
yeah,
Always ready to learn. I don't
it's
want to
a
make more
little add this one to your list
yeah.
because I never thought this would be what it is, and you'll know why it is. But anyway, I'm kind of being evasive. But so have this little dog who has chronic ear infections. They're yeast problems. It's constantly getting checked for yeast and constantly getting them back. And so I get the owners on a yeasty beast protocol. We go through everything and for whatever reason, they're not doing any flea and tick. They're not doing vaccines. They're not like they're feel, fulfilling all of the things that we need them to fill. But yet the ear infections keep coming back. And so then they go back to the vet and then they end up with the pack in the ear. And I'm like, gosh, this just doesn't make sense. This has been long enough
That's
of us
intense.
getting the yeast out and we're still doing this. What is going on? And it's just driving me crazy. And to the point where I start questioning that I might just be stupid. And all the stuff that I think I'm learning and know and have done with other animals isn't working on this particular dog.
And that's
So
always an option too. I mean, that's always a possibility. There's always the
it is.
outliers,
There is,
always.
there can be, but I don't know. Like it was sad to me because I see her all the time and she comes in all
Just
the time
struggling.
and I
Yeah.
still see the ear infections. And then
Oh,
one day the
so
dad
painful.
says to me, they found out what it is and the dog is allergic to chicken.
Hmm.
And I questioned it at the time, but I said, if it's working, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
question that motive. But I did question whether this entire time the yeast that was pouring out of this dog's ear was actually just a chicken allergy the whole time. I had my doubts. So anyway, fast forward about a year after all of
Oh,
this drama and trying to figure this out, and in walks the owner who asks me for the tear staining product that I sold her a few years ago. And where is it? And I said, I don't sell any
was
tear.
it the
No,
one
yet
it starts with an A? Got it.
antibiotics. And it has antibiotics in it. And all of a sudden it just hit me. I said, that, and she has been out of it, which is why the ear is clean. So she's been out of it. She hasn't been able to
Oh,
get it because they're not really selling it. You can't get it like you used to be able to get it. So
good.
she's been out of it.
Glad to hear that. Yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
she thinks that the ear infection cleared up because they got rid of
The
the
chicken.
chicken. And I now know that the ear infection cleared up because they ran out of their tear staining stuff. So my point is that it's really hard for someone like Kasie and I to know everything you're using. Please be open with that communication. When we want to know everything that you're using, it's kind of everything. Stuff in the house that you're spraying, a shampoo, there's so many things and it's so hard it never occurred to me
Well,
that she
and
was using that product.
the huge impact of the occasional treat.
Yes, the
That
occasional
I mean,
treat.
those can just undo
Yes,
so
yes.
much.
Well,
And
to
it's
me,
not that I mean, we think of it as just a treat, but
yeah,
it really can undermine what you're trying to accomplish. It's
yeah.
really unfortunate. Yeah.
No, it is. I tell people all the time when you go back to treats that one peanut can cause a person to die if they have a peanut allergy. One tiny little peanut.
That's a great way to
Right.
explain it.
So
Yeah.
I kind of explain it like it may seem like no big deal that you gave one little piece of this or one little piece of that, but and if it's a true allergy, it doesn't that's I mean it can cause some problems, but I think that's a lesson for me to learn. And I've always done like you, like I go through my list and make sure, okay, and here's the thing, like with that product, that tear staining product, she didn't even know it had an antibiotic in it.
No, people didn't.
People
Nobody
don't,
knew.
they didn't know. And
They
so
were
when
like,
I
"It
would,
works so great." I said, "Well,
right.
that's because."
I know.
Yes.
I know. So
Yeah.
when I would ask her, "Are you sure you're not giving any antibiotics? The vet didn't give you an antibiotic shot that maybe we missed?" I mean, I was just
You
going.
knew
I
it.
was
You
I'd like
knew.
something, something, something. Yeah, I think my gut ultimately
Yeah.
knew there
Yeah.
had to be something we were missing.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's just kind of an interesting thing. And when you talk about nutrition, I just want people to be as open about everything you're giving, or we can't help. We
Yeah.
can't help. We have to know everything. So we don't even know. Stress is a big thing, right? Like I don't need to know that you and your husband, and, but you need to know that stress is part of it, right? So
Every little detail of your
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I don't want people to have to tell me all of that, but stress is definitely a role, something that can cause flare ups in dogs. I just had a dog have a flare up that was going really well into the detox program that we have her on. And the last time I saw her, name's Banana. And
Oh,
if her mom's watching, I hope it's okay. I usually don't tell people's clients names and stuff, but Banana is the cute. I have to tell you her name because her name is the cutest thing.
what
She's
kind of
a
dog is she?
she's a little Maltese, and I think she's this big. Like
Ah!
she's the smallest little thing I've ever seen.
Okay,
And
so
she's
that brings like so we have those amber collars that I just started
mhm,
selling, and
mhm.
people ask me, do they work? And I say, I really don't know if they work.
Yeah,
I do know that they won't hurt your dog. They're
right.
beautiful and they're not very expensive
Yeah, try
compared
it.
to a flea collar. I didn't even know how much the flea collars cost, but we looked it up. It was like $90 or something for
Yeah.
those arrested
Wow.
or whatever. And so the amber collars are like $40, so it's not that bad. And so and they won't hurt them and they're pretty. And so I'm like, so try it. It won't hurt. So I actually wanted to try. I wanted to put one on my cat just as because they're cute and I want to
Cute.
see. They have no
Because we're girls and we like cute stuff
I
on our
was
cute
like,
dogs.
I'll just try. So I was like, oh, I want to try one of these little ones. And I brought it home for my little. I have this little cat named Bones, and she's this little
Oh, bones.
badger. She's just little, small, but she's like built like a little tank.
Yeah.
But I brought home the 6 to 8 inch one, and I thought that would fit on her. It fits barely. I mean, I'm skinny. It fits barely on my wrist.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it didn't fit on her neck. So that just reminded. I'm like, I was like, what little dog would?
That's the
But
dog.
that's the dog. That's the dog that they're
That's the
thinking
dog.
about that would work on.
She's so tiny, but she's been struggling with staph and yeast infections for, I think her mom said like 4 or 5 years. She's been
Oh,
struggling. She's been on massive amounts of antibiotics, massive amounts of antifungals, just an enormous amount. I forgot what I was going to tell you about
I'm
Banana's
sorry.
story, but
I
no, that's okay.
interrupted you.
That's me. No, no, no. I'm interrupt away. I'm fine. I love chatting and bantering. So, but Banana is she's just watching her go, oh, we were talking about stress. So she was doing great. And when I say doing great, I always tell people that when we do a detox with your dog, it gets worse before it gets better. Always. I've never seen a case where the dog just got better and everything went away and everything was fine. When you have true amounts of yeast living in the body, it has to go somewhere and it's going to find a place to go because it wants to survive. So we kind of got her through what was a really bad part of the detox, and she seemed to start hitting a little bit better, like her ears weren't so bad and stuff. And then her mom went out of town, not her mommy's fault, of course, and she left her with her friend, not her friend's fault, but she
Just
brought
a
her
change
in.
in routine, a change
It
in environment. Yeah.
boom, she brought her back in, and it's pretty bad. Like she just,
Oh,
something happened, whatever, the stress brought it on,
yeah.
whatever it was. She came in, and we're back to just
Yeah.
the smell is pretty bad. And so but those are things that people have to understand. I always tell people that if I'm going to taking your dog who's had 5 years or 6 years or 10 years, I've had dogs that were suffering with this for 10 years through a detox program. If you think that's going to 10 years is going to be fixed in 1 month, you're being unrealistic.
No,
It's
I heard what I've heard from other people, other veterinarians that have work on these chronic issues is they'll oftentimes say it's a month for every year. So 10 months,
yeah,
maybe.
I
But
don't
at least it helps people figure out like their expectations would
yeah.
be, their expectations would be managed better.
Yeah. I think it depends on, like, for me, yeast is what I deal with the most. And so for me, yeast is the most adaptable organism on the planet. And so a lot of times it's not a I always tell people sometimes we can get really lucky and I can throw the stuff at your dog that is straight line and it just went smoothly and it was great. And other times I have to do this. And when you have to do this, I've seen it take a year. I've seen it take a
Yeah.
year. And that's with the most compliant pet parents out there. The ones that are like,
Mhm.
I'm going to do this straight and do everything you tell me to do.
What are some of the things that you do?
So well, I think we talked about it before, but I love to do ozone baths. I love
Yeah.
to use apple cider vinegar
Yep.
orally and externally. There's a shampoo on the market called Nui Gear shampoo.
Yeah.
I like
That's
that.
the only shampoo I saw.
Yeah, it has a lot of enzymes and bacterias in it, and
They
so
don't have the 33-ounce right now. I just reordered yesterday,
oh
and they
really?
don't have the 33-ounce anymore. So they're just going to send me a bunch of the 16s instead. But they're
Uh,
really low. They're having
yeah.
trouble getting it from Japan right now,
Oh, I'm glad I
or
have a bunch of
Germany.
stock.
Yeah,
I
we're
keep.
down to the end. We're down to the bottom. So I'm like, she's
Oh
going to
my
send me
gosh.
what she can.
Yeah, I keep a lot of that in stock because I do a lot of grooming dogs, so I'm there all the time. But their
Yeah.
lotion is amazing. So if you wash a dog in a really good shampoo and then use their shampoo and then put that lotion, I use it as a spray. I make up a
Yeah.
spray and then I'll spray that all over and leave it because then that bacteria will attach itself to the skin. So that works really well. But like I said, anytime I'm helping people with detox, I have to take so many different routes. There's never been one this is what works. I've
Yeah.
used green tea baths. I've used Epsom salt soaks to try to get the fungus off their toes because when it's really bad, it's coming out of their toenails.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just colloidal silver. I don't really like to use too much because it kills bacteria.
So
So sometimes,
intense.
yeah, it can be a little harsh. It just depends. If I had just a staph infection, then I would probably use colloidal silver. So I usually have clients go get tested so I know what I'm dealing with. Like,
What
are we
about
dealing
betadine?
Betadine you can use, yeah. I
I
mean, I
like
do
that. Because
yeah,
it's old. It's just an old
old school works.
iodine.
Yep, yep. Nope, I definitely have done iodine baths. The girls one time were like, "Is that blood in that thing?" No,
Yeah.
no. I'm like, I have a one room that is like my mad scientist, like probably much like a homeopath. You have all these different tinctures and mixtures, and that's me, but with shampoos and stuff. Like I just what am I going to use and mix it up. So kind
Yeah.
of interesting stuff.
I
So
have less topical things and more supplements and foods. That's usually the way I go
yeah,
more. Yeah.
you have to have the internal. The internal is the problem. The external is the result of the internal, right? So if you're not, I could do the best baths every single day for the rest of your dog's life, and if you didn't treat the inside, it would do no good. But I could treat only the internal and not the external and get results. But
True.
not the other way around. But not the other
Right.
way around.
Yeah.
It's just that with the baths, it helps it go along faster. So we're
Well, and
just
it
in
makes them more
it
comfortable
makes them more
too.
comfortable. But
Yeah.
the real cause is internal. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have to attack that. So
It's
but
true.
anyway, so that was one of my little things. You tell me what any crazy things today?
Today has been a crazy day, but
Yeah.
mostly because our biggest challenge right now is we can't get our labels, we can't get our packaging, we can't get rabbit didn't show up this week, chicken hearts didn't show up 2 weeks in a row, chicken gizzards didn't show up 2 weeks in a row. We're like,
Staffing. I'm
we
telling
are
you,
it's
everybody's having staffing
staffing,
problem. It's
and
staffing.
it's staffing from that's what's affecting everything.
Everybody. Everybody, everything.
And staffing here, we have had, that's been a big problem for us too. And the thing is that we're noticing is that there's not that many people working, and then the people
Right?
who are working so hard that they're
Yep.
getting burnt out.
Yep. Yep.
So I mean, it's this super disproportionate workforce situation in a labor
No. And
environment. So
it's
it's
not
really
good.
tough right now, and
Yeah.
it's hard for us, manufacturing and operating and keeping things going. It's a hairdo. Today has been one little catastrophe after another. Plus, the dehydrator broke, and we lost a whole batch of really awesome, like, venison lung, which you don't get. Like, I'm
Oh,
not gonna get that.
wow.
It's like this super precious, amazing ingredient that animals died for. Like we almost never have product that we have to discard, or anything that's like our inspector calls condemned, or that's something that
Yeah.
goes bad, or is something wrong with it. She was shocked, actually. She's like, how do you have these records without where's your condemned? And I'm like, that happens almost never, because we're just so particular about making sure everything's done right. But occasionally we'll have something like this happen. So our dehydrator broke, and it seemed like it had been dehydrated, but eventually it shorted out. So it's like, it was just too suspicious. So we had to.
That's the best way to do it. If you're even the slightest bit suspicious, right? Get real quick. I just want to say that this is a new platform, and so I didn't have the comment section on. So I just want to apologize to Jennifer and Miranda. We're not ignoring you. I just stupidly
I can't
didn't.
see it.
So I guess you have to there's like a comment section. So Jennifer said, haha, I get it, but now I don't know what she's talking about. And then she said, yes, it really works, but I
think she's talking about she uses the lotion that you were talking about.
Oh, the Nui Gear?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I just love that. Sorry.
These are members. These are really great members of
Oh, yeah. And
hi,
Miranda
Jennifer. Hi, Miranda.
She joined.
Thank you for. Yeah, thank you.
I stink. I'm so sorry. No, this is, like I said, a new platform, so I'm not really sure how to use it or anything. So
Jennifer has been, I don't mean to call you out, Jennifer, but she has a Frenchie, and she's struggling with her Frenchie. And yeast in particular. But we're working on, it's kind of, when it's in the situation right now, it's kind of getting worse before it gets better.
Yep.
Yeah. She's like, this topic's right at my alley. Exactly, Jennifer.
Well, we can stay on this topic because it happens
to be
amazing. My favorite. It happens to be my favorite. So
I like the comments though. When they come up, they look cool.
Yeah, they look a lot better. So I think we're gonna like this. If I could suggest, Jennifer, if you can find a groomer that has an ozone machine and does some ozone baths for you.
Oh, do you know anyone in the city?
I don't. You would just have to look up, maybe just type in groomer ozone. Maybe someone's doing some advertising up in the area, but the ozone baths have been pretty much a game changer for me when I'm trying to help these, the Frenchies get between their toes. And
that's exactly what she has right now. We were so concerned. She's actually in pain. I mean, the dog's in pain over it. It's really sad.
Yeah.
So we were doing your goat milk, your idea of last week with the goat milk.
The goat milk.
So she's doing
that's another one. Like just soaking those paws and letting them just sit in the goat's milk works. And then this is a thing.
And Jennifer, the goat milk came in on Tuesday night, Jennifer. So just so you know, it's here.
Oh yeah, get that goat milk and just let your puppy just sit in it, and then let them lick it off of themselves. It's kind of great. There's another thing I use in worst case scenario if I have a dog who I think is really, really in pain and we just got to get him over it, is and it's from your veterinarian, so I'm sorry, but it's Temerol P, which is a combination of a steroid and a antihistamine. And I know that's really bad, but sometimes I've had these dogs that are just so unbelievably miserable, and sometimes that stress alone on the animal causes their body not to want to heal. And so sometimes if we can just take off a little of that stress, I can get them to heal faster. It's not something that I would recommend you do for every pet, but if you have a case that is absolutely, it's not an antibiotic, so it's not going to affect the process you're trying to go forward. But I have had some dogs that's what we finally did, is a little bit of Temerol P while we're going through the worst part of it, and then they heal a little bit better because the body relaxes a little bit. So that's another kind of thing I've used.
That would be contraindicated for right now because we're actually using homeopathy. So
you've got homeopathy going, so try that. But try the ozone baths. That's just like some oxygen that just kind of gets pumped into the feet, and it goes through the water, and they just kind of sit on this pad. And hopefully, if they do have it, they use it long enough, because they have to. Some of them I've seen they did it for 5 minutes. No, it's got to be a good 20 minutes of sitting in the ozone. And you can buy the machine if you want, but I'm not going to lie to you, it's $3,000 for the machine. So you're better off.
I have a question too. Bronco had some skin rashes on his face for a little bit, and he actually went and bought a olive oil that's infused with ozone. I don't know if that's gonna work though. What do you think?
I have olive oil infused with ozone, and I have coconut oil infused with ozone. The research I've done on it says that the olive oil holds it better than the coconut oil, but it's not going to hurt.
It won't hurt. Well, it could actually. If you put oil on something, you're putting a barrier for oxygen, and like the skin can't
Well, I
breathe.
mean, if you were rinsing it off,
Yeah.
like if it wasn't something that you were like caking on and leaving it on, if it was
Meant to
more
be
like,
like an ointment that you put on the skin.
oh, okay,
But
because
I
I
think it'd be
use
better to
it.
do like what you. I think that the you really have to use the
You're
actual.
just ozone, like it's straight ozone through the water. It's oxygenating it. But I will use my ozone olive oil in the water as well. So like I
Oh,
put the oils in the water while I'm
oh,
bathing the dog so that it's just keeps the moisture in as
that's
well, and
interesting.
then I rinse them off so it's not, it doesn't stay on. So
Is Scott somebody you know? He
hey, Scott.
just came
Scott
in.
is the founder of Joey's Legacy.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
Joey's Legacy is the organization that's pushing to change the laws as far as our pets are seen. So,
yeah.
hi Scott. So Kasie and I just do this just to kind of talk dog stuff and try to help people with dog stuff. So it's kind
And
of all fun. So,
cat. I mean, cats can
oh
be too.
gosh, why did I
Yeah.
even do that? I just did a post on saving pets one pet at a time about let's not forget about the kitties. So how did I even forget that? I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know.
Hi,
I think
Scott.
so.
Does
Um,
Scott have Does Scott have animals now? Do you have animals now, Scott?
No, that's how he started the
Yeah. I know.
organization.
I
He
was
can,
wondering if
yeah.
he got another animal.
Not that
Oh,
I know of.
Scott.
Not that I know
There's
of.
somebody out there for you, Scott. I feel it. There's
I
someone who needs
know.
you. Somebody who needs you to help them.
Aw.
But
You
I
hear
do
that,
think
Scott?
that.
It may be time. It may be time. Um, so let's see, what else can we talk about? It's going into flea season.
Yeah. I
So
don't have
shall we?
fleas. I never have any problems. So I'm like, huh? I've never had
Uh,
a flea. But
yeah.
flea combs, get flea comb, putting down the nematodes in your yard. That's a great preparation. We just did that. I do that 3 times a year, or when something gets like one sort of expired, I just bring it home with it.
What do
I'm
you
like,
put in the yard?
so if you go to
Hi, Melanie.
Arbico Organics has something called Triple Threat, and it's 3 packs of 3 different species of nematodes. And nematodes are using bacterial and like basically integrated pest management systems. So they are great for gardeners. They get rid of all the bad bugs. So they get rid of like even things like what do you call them? They get rid like all kinds of weevils and different things that would like hurt your plants, but they get rid of every life stage of the flea and the ticks too, which most nematodes don't aren't able to go after ticks, but they're little microscopic bugs that you can't see. And you just dissolve them in water and spray it on your garden. You could spray your dog with it. It wouldn't hurt them. It's
Really?
completely safe. And
Really?
they go into the ground and they are massively effective against fleas and ticks. But
Can
you have
you
to put them down regularly. Like if you have so the thing is that sometimes you don't have fleas or ticks, but you have wildlife going through your garden or passing through your yard. So whenever I see a squirrel, I just see flea eggs dropping. Like
Oh
that's what I
wow.
see. I'm like, no, I mean that's like I see a squirrel and I'm like, huh, flea eggs dropping into my yard. That's what I imagine. And so yeah, the
Thanks, Lori.
nematodes. Yeah, so
Yeah.
Arbico Organics is the company. They're in Arizona and they're awesome. I've been buying from them for years and years. And you just put them down in your garden. And I have a cement garden. But it's old. It's like 100-year-old cement. It's like a Victorian. So there's all these cracks and stuff. I
Yeah.
just spray it there, but all around the whole perimeter of your yard, like wherever there's a fence line where you might have like rats or mice or raccoons or feral cats or any kind of animal that may be carrying and harboring fleas on themselves, they're going to be dropping flea eggs into your yard.
Right.
And then that would be a risk to your animal. So perfect. That's exactly the link. Thanks, Carrie.
Awesome.
Thank you, Lori. So that you can get those. And I recommend putting down every 2 weeks if you have an existing flea problem. Now, that's not going to be the only thing you can do. You also have to vacuum or steam clean would be even better, but vacuuming every day. If you have fleas right now, you need to vacuum every day. It's 99% effective against fleas. So that will work. And then also flea combing your dog every day. And when you flea comb them, you want to have them on a white sheet, brush them with a flea comb, take off any little pieces of bits, the hair and the flea eggs and the flea dirt, and even if it get a flea or two, and just put that right into like a bowl of soapy water and dip it in there while you're flea combing them. So it's like dip, flea, wash, dip, or brush and then dipped it, and that will get rid of you. I've had rescue animals that had like my first go over with them, 60 to 80 fleas, just like brushing, like just coming like a massive amount. You could even see them running around on them. And then within a week, no fleas. And my animals don't get fleas. And that's because I crate them. So I keep them in an area while I'm going through the flea defleeing thing. And I brush them once or twice a day with a flea comb, put the nematodes down, vacuum every day, launder their bedding. Yes, it's work, but no one's getting harmed with chemicals. And within a week, no fleas. So I've done it so many times. I have no problems, and my guys don't get fleas, and it works out great.
Yeah.
So if you don't have fleas, you can put down the nematodes like every season. But if you have fleas, you want to do it every 2 weeks until you knock that down. Then like every 9 weeks. That's what they recommend.
Very cool.
Yeah, it works
Yeah,
super great.
there's so many things. It's so sad how our fingers crossed Poppy never had fleas. I use natural spray from the spa. So she's using Earth Buddy, or not Earth Buddy, it's called gosh dang it. It's going to come to me in a minute. I know what she's talking about because we have a bunch of it. You know what it is too, Kasie. I know you do. I just can't think right now for some reason. But it's a very organic spray that you use, and I tell people kind of the same thing. If you're using some of these organic sprays and you're going on long walks, sometimes you have to spray before you go, during the walk, before you go into your home, checking your pets for fleas and ticks and those kind of things so that you can keep an eye on that. But I can't think of the name of the product right now that she's using. If she gets it from the spa, I know what it is and it'll come to me.
I like to use neem oil.
Neem is really, really great. I've had some
and
dogs
rose
have
geranium for ticks.
Yeah. Neem, I've had a couple of dogs have a reaction to neem, but not very many. Not very few, but I had a bulldog one time.
It's always possible.
It was anything is. My father-in-law's allergic to bananas, so it always is. But I love neem and I like the smell of neem, so I like
You do?
Yeah,
Most people don't like it. It smells kind of gross. Yeah, but
I like the smell of neem. I use a lot of neem shampoos for fleas and stuff, so but just because I like the smell of it. But we've talked about it before. Any shampoo will kill fleas if you leave it on long enough.
Any soap.
Yeah. Any soap, except I will not allow you guys to use Dawn. Stop using Dawn. No. Just don't use Dawn dishwashing soap on your dog.
Or people used to use baby soap. Remember that Johnson & Johnson?
Johnson & Johnson's. Yeah, because it's tearless. And so, that's something we could talk about is how sometimes people will see something that works for like, oh, I want to use baby shampoo because it's mild and it's tearless and so it won't hurt my dog's eyes. But sometimes you give up one thing to get another thing, which is a lot of times it happens. Yes, it's tearless, but it has a different pH level than puppy shampoo does. So I've told people, yeah, it's not going to kill your dog if you came to me and said, look, what are my choices? Dawn dishwashing soap or Johnson & Johnson's baby shampoo? I'm going to tell you use Johnson. If those are your only two choices, use Johnson & Johnson's baby shampoo. But there's some really great organic puppy shampoos out there that are tearless, and that's what you should be using. Nui Gear is one of my favorite
That's
shampoos.
the only shampoo I sell.
It really is a great shampoo. The only problem with Nui Gear, if I had one, well, yeah, there's that too.
That's the problem.
But sometimes I get some really like bend in the mud dogs. Those aren't getting clean with Nui Gear.
No, it's intended for animals with skin issues.
Yeah, it's not for your been playing in the mud all day dogs, and that's something else.
Although playing in the mud all day is probably really great for their skin microbiome.
So great for their skin, I know.
So just use some water. Spray them off.
Spray them off if you can, as long as you don't have white carpet. But
spray them off and then just do like a apple cider vinegar rinse.
Oh yeah.
So what I do is I just put some apple cider vinegar in a bucket with warm water and I just pour that over the dog and let them shake it off, and it's great. I mean, they might smell a little bit like a salad, but but it's really great for the skin, and it helps it's cleansing, it's balancing, it's not going to hurt their skin, so it's great.
Yeah. I'm just reading some of the comments. So Miranda says that she takes her dog off leash all the time in Oakland Hill.
Yeah, so many ticks. Oh my gosh. It's tick city out there. Yeah.
That's what she's saying. And then she says, but she gets them off full tick check post walk.
That's awesome.
Miranda,
she's a great dog mom. Miranda is amazing.
Like it.
She's
sounds
so
like
good.
it. Oh, I love I swear, I love great dog moms. There's nothing better. Dog parents, I should say. I have some great dog dads, so I certainly don't want to, but I love them. Like sometimes people, sometimes people will come to me and they're like, I'm going to be that pain in the ass client. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're going to be the one that's doing what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Now, if we're still in this circle, because like sometimes they'll call me and they'll have a lot of questions and things they want to ask. I love that because I think it's sad to me when a dog parent calls and says, "How much do you charge?" And that's the only question they have. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like you should ask a lot more. So I love clients who have a lot of questions and stuff. So I think I love having great dog mom parents. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
People who love them so much, they have a lot. And they've
I
done
know.
a lot of research and they know, I mean,
Mhm.
that's the perfect person. That's who you want.
Yeah, no,
That's
that
the
is who you
ideal
want.
client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ideal pet parent is one who's open to listening, who's done some research. So they're not just like, tell me what you want and get me out of your office, but they've done their research and they're interested and that they're consistent, right? So sometimes people just, they're, today they fed
Well,
them
they bop
well.
around. Like if
Yeah,
they're bopping around all the time, it's
I
just
know.
that's going to be hard. They're hopping around through different, like they try this for 2 weeks, or they try this for a month, they try that for a month, they go here, they go there.
Doesn't
Just
work.
go it that's hard.
It
That's
doesn't work.
difficult.
It
It's
doesn't work.
difficult.
Hi, Brian. How are you? Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, guys. I just have to just give into this. I can't see. Uh, Melanie says, "What do you add to diet for seizures? A rescue that on she's a rescue that's on Keppra for the last 2 years. Started after vaccines and unknown 3-in-1 pill. Just got him." This is from Melanie. What do you think, Kasie?
Well, you just got him, so give him a little moment to adjust. Hopefully you're feeding a raw ketogenic diet and you're fasting. My recommendation is to feed between a feeding window of, ideally, if it works for your schedule, between 12 and 7 every day, and a fasting window between 7 p.m. and 12 the next day. And that's because of a dog's natural carnivore biorhythms, their hormone levels and their digestion and their metabolism is ideally suited for them to be consuming food between 12 and 7 ish every day. So you can feed one meal a day or 2 meals a day, but it should be within that time frame. And then after 7 and before 12, that's a nice, just water only and no treats. If you can do that, that would be best. And then that will go a long way, that right there. So let that settle and see how it goes. Take it slow. Don't do too many dramatic things all at once. There's a lot of changes happen in this animal's life, especially because it's a rescue and who knows what it's gone through. And it's been assaulted by all these medications and the whatever the 3-in-1 thing is. That sounds a little scary. That might have been some sort of vaccination. It sounds
Yeah,
like.
I don't know. I don't know. Let us
I don't
know,
know.
Melanie, what the
Yeah.
3-in-1 pill is.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I have a dog right now that lives with me who came to me because he was going to be put to sleep because his mom couldn't afford his seizure medications anymore. And he was having an enormous amount of seizures. And so I saw it on Facebook. And of course, I was like, no, don't put him to sleep. I'll take him. Let me change his diet and fix him. So here's what I did. Um, of course, everybody knows that seizures can be caused by an enormous amount of things. They're not always just because the dog has toxics or just because it's food. It can be anything from hydrocephalus to liver shunts to some pretty serious things. So if that's been ruled out,
Yeah.
and
Do a check and make sure
yeah,
there's not like renal failure or liver disease
exactly.
or yeah.
Yeah. So once that's been ruled out, I can tell you what I did for this dog, and I got lucky or it just happened to work. So he came to me, he had all his seizure medications along with his flea and tick stuff. So of course that was out the door, no more flea and tick
Yeah.
stuff.
So that's without being so no more
Gone
flea tick, no more heartworm,
gone. I don't
none of
think I
those
know Melanie,
medications.
I'm pretty sure no, she wouldn't be doing that. But if he's been on it since
But our
like
lesson
Kasie
learned,
said,
though, our
yeah,
lesson learned, we need to make sure to say that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
make sure that's clear.
hopefully all of that's out the door. But all I did was I changed the diet
Yeah,
right off the bat. We're not eating whatever that was. And then I needed to wean him off because he had a lot of medications. So I had to wean off these meds. And in the meantime, I started adding CBD oil from Earth Buddy, which is one of my favorites. King Harvest also makes one. I
King
think
Harvest is
they're
the one I'm
both
recommending.
they're both
Yeah,
really great products in my opinion.
I
So
like it because it does have the THC, which I think is important.
that is the
I
difference
do.
between so that is the good point. That is the difference between King Harvest and Earth Buddy is King Harvest has THC in it. So if your dog can tolerate THC and does well on THC, then those are they're different products, but I like both of them. I actually only used Earth Buddy for this particular dog, and started to give him the CBD while I was still giving him the medications, and then I weaned him off of it. The diet was changed at the same time.
Yeah, this is a
Um,
slow, like you're saying,
yeah,
this is a slow,
it's
you're
a
not going to do everything
slow
all at
process.
once.
No, you can't just go, no more meds, and here's your CBD. So, to be more specific, I did the CBD for about 2 weeks before I started to decrease the pills. And then the pills went down to one, instead of one, he was taking one 2 times a day. We went down to one a day. Then we waited a couple of days, continuing the CBD. And that's how, and then now you can fast forward, I think it's been 3 years. He's been CBD free and medication free, and he just eats a really great raw diet. So
Yeah.
fingers crossed, Melanie, just be patient, like Kasie said. Like it do her feeding regimen, anything you can do that can help.
Yeah. Look up
um
a ketogenic diet. That's what
Keto
I would
diet,
recommend.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So and
absolutely.
then making sure your sources of your meat's nice and clean if you
Yeah,
can.
yeah,
And then homeopathy can be really helpful because especially since it happened after a vaccination, there's some there's a Thuya is a really great uh, homeopathic remedy that's used frequently after the rabies vaccine in particular. Listen is another one, but Thuya is very popular, and that can. I don't like to do mechanistic prescribing or like after vaccine give Thuya. That's not homeopathic. Like that's not how you should be looking at homeopathy or making recommendations. But that being said, that is oftentimes very helpful. So it may be a good idea to give maybe one dose just of a Thuya 30C potency, and one dose, I mean, just really once. That's it. You really don't need to. I think less is more, and it's very powerful, those remedies. So I don't recommend giving it every day. I don't recommend giving it like on a schedule. You'll find all kinds of things on the internet, but that might be something that may be helpful to try. But Thuya
yeah.
also times the thing about Thuya is it's more usually if there's uh, if there's gastrointestinal problems as well. So if the dog has diarrhea or vomiting or having problems with their gut, within usually that starts about a lot of itching. That'll usually start about 30 days after the vaccination. So if you see 30 days after the vaccination that happens, Thuya might be the right remedy for that. But you can work with a good classical homeopath, and that might be your best bet to make decisions on which remedies to use. But that's one of the ones that's frequently used in that situation, and that
Yeah.
may help a lot. Otherwise, I like to also, for a dog that's been really loaded up with a lot of stuff, I like to I like to use something that's going to help their body. Their body will detoxify on its own without our assistance through regular fasting and clean food. It's amazing what the body can do, what we can do without adding anything. That being said, if you want to help support them, there's things like milk thistle, chlorella, activated charcoal. These are things that I like to use which are safe to use for a long period of time, especially the chlorella and even the activated charcoal. I used to be really careful about activated charcoal, and I was concerned about it absorbing or being, you want to feed that or give that within 2 hours apart from any kind of medication. And if you're doing the anti-seizure medication, you probably don't want to do it with the anti-seizure medication, out of an abundance of caution. But I've seen too many animals over the years now that were on an activated charcoal protocol for like a year. They were taking 4 or 5 caps a day for a year, and the dog had reversed age during that period, like just
Oh,
dramatically improved their health status. So it really changed my opinion. This is where you learn, like, not necessarily the things that you're concerned about might not be. I mean, I've changed my opinion on diatomaceous earth. I've changed my opinion on activated charcoal. There's things that my opinion over these 33 years of raw feeding have changed, and those are two of the main primary ones that I come across on a pretty much daily basis. But those are things that activated charcoal is really safe, and you can do it long term. But I would keep it away from any medications that you're giving. Give it a 2-hour window away from those medications just to be careful. But that would be something and it's very inexpensive. That's the other thing I really like about it. But it will help with the detoxification. Just support them if you feel like that's necessary, and you have the intuition that that's what the animal needs. You could use something like that.
I've seen more seizure dogs be completely get rid of their seizures than the opposite. So
Yeah.
I think you're going to be on the right track, Melanie. It looks like that you said the dog came from a shelter, no known seizures until the shelter gave the vaccines, but shelters are also very well known for giving flea and tick medication. So I would venture to guess that, just like Casey says, the body has an amazing ability to detox itself, and we just have to give it time and keep the stress levels down. I think you're gonna be just fine. I think you're gonna be just fine. I
Every
think,
day, going out in nature,
yeah,
getting like paws on the ground, go out in nature, get near around trees, near the ocean if you can, just out in the sun. That's all of
yeah,
those things are going to be really helpful in healing for the animal
yeah, for sure, for sure.
and resetting hormones and everything. So, yeah.
So I'm curious to see what you say about this. So Brian wants to know what we think about the calculating calorie requirements versus just using the basic 2-3% of the ideal body weight. What do you think?
I think that the 2 to 3% ideal body weight to start with is just simpler and easier. And then I also think that both of them are problematic. I don't think either one of them is the right approach. What I think is the right approach is to feed the dog in front of you and look at their body condition, not their appetite, not their finickiness or ravenousness, but their actual body condition. So I say, "How's your dog's weight?" And they say, "My dog's 50 pounds." That's not actually what I meant is, what's your dog's body condition?
Yeah,
So you want to get that. You want to have a nice lean dog. You can actually see a little bit of rib. You don't want to have prominent hip bones, and you want to have like a covering on the ribs on the front of the rib cage, but that rear rib cage, you want to have a nice tuck underneath, and you want them to stay lean and trim, but not
yeah,
emaciated. And as long as they look like that, then you're feeding the right amount. Now you're going to be that might be difficult for most people, but I find that that's an easier approach than like calculating anything. Because, but that being said, if there's an animal who's overweight, oftentimes we do need to have them weigh the food. We have to do the calculations because the people are having a really hard time not overfeeding.
yeah,
So putting those restrictions in place for a dog that's overweight and we need to reduce the weight, sometimes just the only way to do that is to use a scale, calculate things out. There's concerns. So there's a lot of in human medicine right now and in functional medicine, the whole a calorie is not a calorie, and there's a lot of information about this. So the calorie, I guess, the whole idea of a calorie, it is very scientific, but there's also the truth is that a calorie is not a calorie, and our metabolisms are so unique and different and change over time that it may not be. I don't think it's the ideal approach. But that being said, if it's a good starting place for you and it makes sense to you, it also there's this whole theory where there's concerns over not feeding adequate amount of calories to meet nutritional goals, and that if you're doing like even in a vegan, like I'm a long-term vegan, there's a lot of theories about as long as you're getting adequate calories, then you'll be getting adequate nutrition, adequate protein, and things like that. That's kind of the same philosophy in the dog nutrition world, is that if you're feeding the adequate amount of calories, then you're going to be usually meeting a lot of the basic nutrition, like macros at least, as far as calories are concerned, and some of the main values for nutrition. But I think that doing a variety of foods is really important. So if you were feeding rabbit or whitefish for 3 months and nothing else, your dog's going to probably be, there's something called rabbit starvation. They're not getting enough fat. So that's going to be a problem. So what we want to do is I like to do rabbit with pork or rabbit with duck, something that's got like much more fat involved with it. I love that. Or adding it with like duck egg yolk, something like really rich would be nice to enhance that rabbit diet. But then building that, if we can, up to 4 different proteins at a minimum, rotating between those or incorporating those different foods in the diet. Ideally, if we're looking at like what the ideals are, that would be my ideal picture. Is you have your tripe, you have your seafood, you have your dairy if they can tolerate dairy, you have your eggs if they can tolerate eggs. Then we have at least 4 different proteins that you're kind of rotating through. Now that might sound really complicated to people, but if you go step by step and very slowly, you build up that diet. You have about a 3 month period to build up the diet. And during that time, they may actually be really ravenous in the beginning if they've never eaten raw before and they've been eating a highly processed food. They may be super ravenous. As long as their weight doesn't go up, you can feed them as much as you want. But again, this is always look at the dog, look at their body condition, and help that be your determining factor. So
yeah,
if your dog starts to get lean or they start to get too heavy, you feed less or you feed more. you kind of adjust the diet in that capacity. I think that's the best way to go, in my personal opinion and my experience.
No, I totally agree 100%. It was a good question, Brian, to bring
Yeah.
up because it is, it's so hard when people come to me, and I'm sure Kasie, and they read something online and they think that that is should be a blanket across the board, and it can be dangerous both ways. I would love that you answered it that way. It can be dangerous both ways because, but it, and you also mentioned that it's a good starting point, which I totally agree with, because sometimes people are like, well, how much, like, what is my
Yeah.
plate, what's my plate supposed to look like, you know?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
it's kind of a starting point to kind of get you to idea to look and see what the plate or the bowl or the yard. I feed my dogs. My dogs do a lot of hunting in the yard, so I do a lot of throwing stuff in the yard.
Yeah, but it's such a paradigm shift just to feed fresh foods
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sometimes having those structures in place to help people when they
yeah,
first get started, it really
yeah.
does help. Yeah.
But don't get stuck on them. Like, I can't
No.
stress that enough. Do not get stuck on them, because while you're stuck on, I committed to this percentage and I'm going to do this, your dog's either gaining or
No.
losing and you're not paying attention to
You
that. So
have
Casey
to
makes the
adjust.
best point ever is feed the dog in front of you and pay very close attention to your dog's weight. The weight is our best indicator of what's
Body
going on.
condition. Body
Huh?
condition. Body
What?
condition,
Body
not the
condition.
weight.
Body
I say
condition.
that
Thank
too
you.
all the time. I Carrie, I'm like, how's
Okay.
your dog's weight? And then they answer with a number.
Body
And I'm like,
condition.
wait,
I know.
no, that's not what I meant.
Okay. You're
I
right.
have to get used to that too. It's the
I
same
gotta
for
get
me.
body condition, body condition. That's a
Yeah.
good. Well, gosh, it's so sad to see that the Labrador Retriever. I don't know if we talked about it, but just won best in show, and he's, in my opinion, grossly
Oh,
obese.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Well, show
So
dogs are always overweight, in my
I mean,
opinion.
this is
All of them. They
so
like them
overweight.
fat. Oh, that's too bad.
That's just too bad. So
And,
please
and
don't.
it's also sad that a lot of veterinarians are just so used to seeing inflamed, overweight, heavy
Yeah.
dogs.
Yeah.
When they're eating kibble, they're all poofy and inflamed. So I
I
see that all the
know.
time when they first come in. They're just these poofy dogs that are just in a chronic state of inflammation. And then the vets are just used to seeing that all the time. They don't know what a regular fit dog looks like. And so a fit conditioned dog that's eating a species appropriate diet, they're going to be ripped. That's what they're going
Huh.
to look like. You know, they're going to look nice and trim.
Yeah.
They're not going to have that fluidy, poofy look. They're going to have, just better muscle tone, and they'll be trim and lean, and they'll
Yeah.
live longer in that way. So,
So
and yeah.
Brian, that's a perfect example. So Brian said that based on the calorie requirements, he realized he was, based on those requirements, he was underfeeding his dog by 2 ounces per meal. Yet his dog's body composition is spot on. And he said, if I feed extra food, his dog would blow up. And that's what Casey's trying to say, is the metabolisms are all different. Our hormones and all of the stuff that play a role in each individual animal or person is different. We can't get stuck like that. So you're smart to be paying attention to your dog's
Yeah, that's
body
really great.
composition, which is my new word of the day.
I have an actual card with how much to feed. There's a chart on the front with the 2% suggestion, and then
Yeah.
on the back I have pictures of the body composition and the body score, and we say this is what
Oh,
you
I
want
should
to
get
feed.
that
So
card from you.
it
I
looks
should
like
get that card from you.
it's free. It's on our website, so
Oh, really?
yeah. And
Oh,
actually, I have it on Canva, so I just like make printed of it. So I'll share that with you. I would love to.
yeah, please.
Yeah,
I would love to
I
have
made
it.
it. It's my
I,
own art.
I wish I was more artistic and can make stuff to hand out. I did the podcast because I don't have time. Like, not that I don't have time. It's just not
It's
my,
time consuming,
like,
Carrie. It's
doing
not
little
it's not
things. And
fast for me
yeah.
either. I'm not quick
So
at it
for me,
either.
I'm like, I'm going to do a podcast because I like to talk. And then that way, when people want to know stuff, I can say, now when someone says, is my dog overweight? I'm going to say, go listen to this chat I did with Kasie and we'll talk about
Yeah.
body composition.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's can be kind of
And the thing
difficult.
too is that like public perception and even your veterinarian's perception, it's a little skewed, like I said.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people say, oh, your dog's too skinny, or your vet says your dog needs to gain weight, but truthfully they're perfect. Sometimes they're just perfect, and being leaner, they're going to live longer, which is been proven over and over and over. Their risk for cancer and chronic diseases and even allergies and all of these things is reduced. Arthritis, all of these things are reduced if they're kept lean. Now, you don't want your dog emaciated, of course not. You want them to be nice and
No.
have good muscle tone and a good healthy weight, but you want them to be, if anything, slightly underweight, just very trim. That's
Yeah.
it's really, that's a nice fit dog.
Yeah. So Miranda brings up a really good point. I don't know if she realizes what a good point this is, but she talks about how before she joined SF Raw, that her dog was a picky eater, and had a hard time getting her to eat, and now she loves her food, and that SF Raw had switched her over into, organic, homemade, or raw diet. I have this conversation all the time with people that in groups that I'm involved in, where they're saying they have a picky eater, and I respond with, no, you don't. You have a dog who's not eating the right food, and he doesn't have the enzymes and the gut bacteria, and he's not gravitating towards what should be his diet. And if you can get those under control. So my guess is, Miranda, that switching that diet and brings a dog into more, it's like sometimes I feel like when they eat all that rice and starch and potato, it doesn't make them feel very good. So it's not something they want to eat. Whereas when they start to eat real food, their body starts to feel better, and they start to think of it as something that's a good, not necessarily as just for survival. So that's awesome. I love to hear stories like that where, oh my gosh, all of a sudden my dog loves his food. It's heartbreaking because I have a boarding facility. I see dogs all the time that hate their food. They just don't want to eat it. They just, and the first night you think it's, because they have a little bit of jitters and they don't really want to eat.
Yeah, I was gonna say it probably. I mean, Great
Mm-mm.
Danes, that's my breed. They're notorious for coming back from a boarding facility half their weight because they
Yeah,
just won't eat while they're gone and they stress
yeah,
out. So they're super
yeah.
stressed. It's
But the
stress
sad,
induced in anorexia. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, for sure that can happen when the boarding facility is not paying attention. That infuriates me when I see that happen. Where I'm like, so what did you do with the dog for the last 7 days?
Well, and honestly, sometimes the dog just won't eat. So I mean, what are they gonna
There's
do? I mean,
things.
do
There
yeah.
are. There are. Trust me. You
There's
sometimes.
always Poppy brought up tripe. There's always tripe. Tripe
That's
almost
the
always
thing.
works.
It does. Tripe almost always works, but you know what else almost always works? A one-on-one walk with one of the
Uh,
people at work. Sometimes you just take that dog out of the environment and just take them out on a walk, and then bring them back, and they're happy to eat.
yeah.
But a lot of times they just don't like their food. And so I will get these dogs, no kidding, that have been boarding for me forever. And now they know that I have stuff. So they're like, now they'll come in, and night one, they'll just kind of look at me, and I'm like, I know you don't want to, I, I got the good
Give
stuff.
me the good
And
stuff,
they're
Carrie.
like,
Come on,
well,
Carrie.
I think because I don't know, maybe I'm projecting onto them, but it's like they can smell the other dog's bowl. And so they're like, oh, come
Oh,
on.
for sure.
Yeah. What?
Are you kidding? Dogs are
Yeah.
like bears. They can smell. It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Their sense of smell is
Oh,
incredible. They
yeah.
probably think that we just have no sense of smell. Like, oh, we say, oh, dogs, they can't see colors or whatever.
Yeah.
But dogs, I always think dogs probably talk about us if they're talking.
Oh, they're
If a dog
totally
was
talking
talking,
about us.
they're gonna say humans have no sense of smell. They really can't smell.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not
Because
their fault.
compared to a dog, we can't smell anything.
Oh my
Because
gosh,
they're incredible.
that's so hilarious because I joke about that all the time about how they go to the dog park and they gossip about us. Like, so I went to this one boarding facility and blah 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 blah. So I think they talk about us for sure, and I think they would say that we have no sense of smell. Did you
By
see what my mom
comparison.
put in my bowl last night? I don't think she can smell.
Yeah, no, it's so
Yeah,
true. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
they
So.
definitely can see like what the other dog's eating and getting.
I've
They
seen
want
it.
that.
We've watched it, and then because we have to be very careful, we don't have a sick dog in front of us, right? So we have to be very diligent. Did they eat their breakfast? We go into the hand feeding and take him for a walk and see if he'll eat. Sometimes we'll call the parent and we'll give a little CBD oil, and that'll take the anxiety off, and then they'll eat. There's things you can do to get them to eat, but it's amazing to me how many times I don't do anything except give them meat, protein. And because a lot of times that they're eating foods that are more heavy on the carbohydrate and the sugars, and as soon as I introduce a piece of meat, and that always makes me feel better because now I know I don't have a sick dog. I don't have to call
Right.
mom. I don't have a sick dog. I have a dog who doesn't want to eat his food. So,
Yeah.
but anyway,
Hey, it's seven
well,
o'clock.
I know. I was just going to say we're coming up on the 7 o'clock hour. This was a great one. I'm so glad that we have people that are starting to
Thank you for
join.
yeah.
I know.
Thank you everybody for posting and commenting. Miranda, you're so
Yeah.
awesome, and
I
Jennifer
know.
and
I
everybody.
know.
Thank you so
Brian, thank
much.
you everybody. You guys don't know, like we're really want to get this to be just such a great thing because there's so many animals that are suffering, and so our knowledge goes to you, your knowledge goes to the next person, and it just kind of grows like a big giant
And it's a
I don't
ripple
know.
effect. It's a ripple
Yeah.
effect,
I
you
know.
know?
So we're
Every
excited to have you guys. We'll see you next Thursday. Kasie, as always, thank you. Lori, thank God for you typing in all this information. So, and I'm just going to throw this out there. If there's ever a subject that you guys want to talk about, maybe you can send us a little message, and we can start talking about it. So,
So you can
but
also get notifications like so Lori, just to confirm this, I told people to subscribe to should they go to YouTube or Facebook or what's better, and then get the make sure that you click the little thing to get notifications and get all the notifications, because we're definitely not going to be like spamming you. I mean, this is like a once a week thing. We're not going
yeah,
to be
we're
going
not
crazy.
we're not
So
no, we're not spamming you. I don't have time to spam you. Like I promise you, if
I
you
can't
give us
even get
your
out the
email,
things I'm like behind on and can't keep up on.
yeah,
So don't worry about it.
no, promise. The only reason that we do it that way is because it yeah, gives us a little bit of an idea of how many people will be in, and that kind of thing. But it just kind of is easier for us to manage that way.
Well, also they'll
Um,
be able to get a notification, a reminder that we're going to be
yeah,
popping
yeah,
up.
you guys can
Yeah.
get the notification, but we're planning on 6 o'clock Thursday nights, so we'll always be here. So, oh, and Lori says you are correct, Kasie, on the notifications. So awesome.
So
That's great.
Facebook or YouTube. Is there anywhere else, Lori, that people should be going to if they prefer a certain platform? She's going to maybe hopefully confirm.
She'll confirm for us. She's probably typing away. She could type fast, so
this
she'll
this
get there.
StreamYard thing's pretty cool.
Yeah, the StreamYard thing is definitely pretty cool. I like the little banner it has, and Lori can type in everything. I liked the little countdown thing it had.
I didn't see
So
that.
yeah, so it does like this little countdown thing to tell you when it's going live. Like it's going live in 3 minutes, 4 minutes, those kind of things. So Lori says right now it's Facebook and YouTube, but I talked to her before this, and she said she's working on it. So there's going to be
Cool.
all sorts of platforms. That's why she wanted to try this one to see how this one works.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Does this integrate with Instagram? Most things don't, but if there's any way to have it go with Instagram, that would be rad, because I have so many Instagram followers. Ah, she says yes. That's
Yes.
awesome. Okay,
Oh
that's gonna be
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
That'll
So
be
it's going to
great.
be great. We're going to have so many great conversations, you guys,
Yeah.
about your dogs and our dogs and all sorts of stuff.
And cats,
And
Carrie, come on.
cats. I know. Didn't you see the picture I just posted of my five? Oh, my five little rescue kitties have to go home next week. Sad.
Oh, all
I know, but
right.
they're doing well. So that's that.
Yay.
So, all right, guys, we will see you next week, next Thursday. Kasie, have a great week.
Thank you, Carrie. It's good to see you. Thank
You
you,
too.
Lori.
You too. Thanks, Lori. Bye, everybody.
All right, bye bye.